time now for us to delve into the world of films for our weekly segment, Movie Spotlight. Here we review some of the latest releases at the Korean box office and online. And casting their critical eye over those releases are our film critics. First, we have Jason Bechervaise to my right.
Hello, Django.
Yes, hello, Jason. And we have Darcy Paquet to my left as well. Hello to you too, Darcy.
Hi, Django.
Okay, so two big Hollywood releases for us to look at this week. The first is another major superhero franchise movie. It is The Flash, or simply Flash in Korean, starring the troubled star Ezra Miller in the title role. This is the latest by the comic giant DC in their struggle to launch a cinematic universe similar to their rival Marvel. DC's other classic characters, of course, include Superman and Batman. So, Darcy, can you kick us off this time? What can you tell us about this film and this superhero?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will be well familiar with this superhero, but The Flash, Barry Allen is his real name. He is famous for being able to run very fast, to essentially stop time because he runs so fast. And so that's his, primary ability. And, in this film, he sort of figures out that not only can he essentially stop time and move into through space-time in a new kind of way, but that he can actually go back in time if he goes faster than the speed of light. And so, sure enough, this is a character with some issues from his past that haunt him, and that he has, similar to Spider-Man, he wishes he could go back in time to change things that happened in the past. And when he discovers that actually he can do that, then the temptation proves too much for him to resist. And yeah, so it's another time travel movie. It's another movie where the plot splits off into various multiverses.
Right.
And so among other things, that's allowed DC to kind of bring back Michael Keaton to reprise his role of Batman, which he originally did back in 1989.
Sure. So once again, we're diving into the multiverse, like we did with Marvel films, as you said, like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Jason, this film has also been delayed for several years, right? Why has it taken so long?
Yeah, a combination of issues, chiefly Ezra Miller. He is a talented actor, but clearly he's got issues. He's been accused of various types of misconduct and, throwing a chair, burglary, apparently trying to choke a woman outside a bar in Iceland. And he's tried to get help for these issues, but it's not good when your lead star is dealing with all that and accused of quite serious crimes. So it's not been good, and it's been very difficult for Warner Brothers to market the film, it's not been ideal, and hence the delays.
Sure. So, still, despite the troubles, the film has hit the screens now. Darcy, has it been worth the wait, shall we say, and all these controversies?
I mean, sort of the awkward thing about this film is that I think Ezra Miller is the best thing about the film.
Yeah.
He is a very charismatic actor. A lot of superhero characters are kind of boring sometimes. They have these superpowers, but their personalities are a little bit flat sometimes. But he's an interesting character. I think one that kind of pulls you in, and and in this film he has kind of a, shall we say, a double acting role to fulfill, and so he pulls that off well. In general, I think there have been people who have really responded well to the film. Others, it's sort of a mixed bag. And for me personally, I'm getting really, really tired of these time travel movies. Where,
oh my god! It's getting a bit repetitive to say the least. And,
okay,
it's fatigue. They just run out of ideas. We've got these multiverses and doing exactly the same thing.
Right, it's not just superhero fatigue, but it seems to be multiverse fatigue now.
Yeah, and they're just all following in the same direction. There's no originality there. It's sure. The visuals are okay, but and the acting is fine, but I sat there, I was like, oh, for goodness sakes, when is this going to end? We've reached this peak. Okay, Endgame was a peak, and it just seems to be on a downward trajectory from here, and it doesn't matter what they do. These films just really annoy me now, honestly. I mean, I'm happy to review them, but I rather review other films. But here we are. But that, Darcy mentioned how some people are enjoying the film, and
right.
Actually, the reception here is not been bad at all. The critics, some critics seem to like it, audiences seem to like it. So, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old and grumpy.
You've hit that phase now, possibly. Yeah. So, Darcy, I was going to say, fans. Comic book fans and superhero movie fans, they seem to have been enjoying it so far. That's what the reception seems to have been like anyway.
Yeah, I mean, DC has had quite a troubled road in trying to, bring this whole Justice League thing into existence and to get people's attention. And, they have, again, some, the superheroes themselves are so famous, and there have been so many film versions of them over the years, but you sort of get the sense that they're starting to pick up a little bit of momentum with this. Some of the previous DC films have really kind of crashed and burned, and in many ways, I don't know. Again, personally, I had a hard time really getting that invested in the film, particularly towards the end. But yeah.
Okay, so despite perhaps some of the audience reviews, it hasn't won our two critics over to see the least today. Okay. Anyway, that was The Flash. Let's move on to our second film of the week, which is the newest animated feature from Pixar. It's called Elemental. It has the same name in Korean, and it's set within an imaginary city called Element City, which is populated by fire people, water people, land people, and air people. It premiered in May as the closing film of the Cannes Film Festival, and this week it opened in theatres here in Korea. Jason, can you give us the overview?
Yeah, so this is the second feature animation by Peter Sohn, a Korean-American director who previously made The Good Dinosaur. He said this movie actually was inspired by his memories growing up in New York and the son of Korean immigrants. And this city is a place where you have various communities that coexist. It kind of reminded me a little of Zootopia. But yeah, they don't really mix. They're kind of segregated. And then you have the main character who's a fire person, and she helps immigrant parents run this, very small, quite cute general store, and then she comes into contact with this water person, and they're kind of very different characters, and yeah, they're kind of polar opposites. Like that's what I liked.
Fire and water.
Exactly. So that's what I liked about this film is that you've got these polar opposites. You've got tension there, but actually they realise that they share more in common than they first kind of imagine. And there's a lot going on in this film. Actually, when I first started watching, I was like, "Oh, here we go again." But actually, it's really quite profound. I liked it a lot. A lot more than I was expecting.
Wow, okay. So this is the 27th animated feature film released by Pixar since the first film, Toy Story, back in 1995. There was a concern, Darcy, I believe, that perhaps this wasn't that original, that when we saw the trailers, it seemed quite familiar. But Jason seems to have been won over.
Yes, I think that the concept itself, the four elements, it feels very Pixar. And,
it is, for sure.
And so certainly I went into it kind of with this similar feeling to Jason, like, we've kind of been here before. And, if we compare this to Inside Out, for example, I think in that case, the concept itself really kind of sparks a lot of thought because you have, these different characters that represent different emotions, and it says something about human psychology. And, compared to that, this is a much simpler kind of thing. You have the characters themselves, and, it sets up a lot of jokes in terms of, hot and cold, that kind of thing. But actually, for me, what feels a little different about this film is that it's actually, it's just a straight romance between two characters. And if you look back over Pixar's catalog, that's really quite rare. I mean, maybe Wall-E, you can consider that
Yeah.
kind of a romance.
Right, okay.
There's a lot else going on in Wall-E. And here too, like, I mean, there's the city stuff going on, and that seems to have worked for some people and not as well for some other people, you know, because some people argued that they should have pushed a little harder on the social issues, and that it lacked weight in that sense. But what I responded to is just the two characters, because, I mean, Pixar is so good at emotions, and I think they do a love story quite well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it is melodramatic in that sense. It's maybe one of the most melodramatic Disney films or Pixar films I've seen in a long time. And so I see it working really well in Asia and South America. And perhaps, you know, that's what they're aiming for, because, you know, it's not necessarily just about America anymore. It's about, you know, the global box office. And so, yeah, I mean, it does feel very, very Pixar. I mean, it has this kind of like neoliberal view of the world. I mean, it's like follow your dream, individualistic, but but at the same time, I think it's really kind of focused on these two characters, and it just really resonates. And by the end of the film, I was completely won over. Wow. It's really moving. Yeah, it has this beautiful climatic sequence.
Well, perhaps not so grumpy old man after all.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that you say grumpy old man. There's a kind of short movie at the beginning of the film featuring the main character from Up, who is a grumpy old man.
Of course, yes.
And I would say stay right into the end of the film, because at the end of the film you'll see a picture of the director's parents.
Okay.
So that's
quite
I
touching
sat
as well, then.
right through to the end, and then I saw the picture. So for those of you who perhaps wanted to understand a little bit about the motivations and behind making this film, it's just a picture, but you can certainly see, and given what I mentioned earlier, what motivated the filmmaker to putting this film together.
Well, Jason says perhaps this film could do well in Asia, but Darcy, Pixar has been going through a bit of a down period recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been interesting because, it's not necessarily because of a slip in quality. I mean, among their last 4 films, there was Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, which were all well received critically. But the issue is, I mean, during the pandemic, and particularly because during the pandemic, Disney was in the process of launching its streaming service, they really didn't give these films, either they skipped theatrical entirely, or they were primarily introduced to viewers on the streaming service. And, I mean, Pixar films have always had this kind of event movie quality to them. And, it's like, oh, there's a new Pixar film, and then it's in all the theaters, and, parents take their kids, and then it's later when they kind of consume it en masse over and over again. But I think Disney's come to realize just how much the theatrical release adds to that. And Pixar films just feel much smaller these days than they used to. I think because they've been missing out on that. Certainly the audience has been going down. With Lightyear last year, they did kind of try to push that on in theaters, but that movie was poorly reviewed.
Yeah, no, this is much better than Lightyear. Lightyear was...
we reviewed Lightyear on the show, and I'd completely forgotten that I'd seen that film.
Again, it's the whole time travel thing again.
I guess not time travel, but a sort of prequel kind of alternate universe, I guess, sort of story. But yes. Anyway, this film sounds much better. Once again, it's called Elemental. That is where we're going to wrap it up for movie spotlight segment this week. Darcy, Jason, as always, thank you for your reviews, and we'll see you again next time.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, see you next time.